Hi everyone, Monday market update time. Is the cycle all over? I don't think so, but there's a couple of things I want to show you today, which will give you a higher indication that we are going to correct a lot deeper than you think. Let's crack in. Right, so it's all about the 10 weekly EMA for me. If you see on the chart here, and I'll get rid of some of the noise, but we've got the blue line here. It's the 10 weekly EMA. We use it in all bull markets to tell us if we're in an uptrending structure. It's a really good guidepost for moving higher or dropping lower into correction. Now, if I'm just really simply looking at where we're at, you can see a range over here, chop, 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 break down from the 10 EMA here, drop down into a correction. It's about a 20% move. We're down into a new range here, chop, 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 break up. New range up here, chop, 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 chop. Use the 10 EMA, break up. In a new range up here, chop, 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 chop. Now the key is here is, are we going higher to new all-time highs and that big move straight away? Or are we going to toil with this 10 EMA, drop down potentially into this zone here, do a little bit of chop, chop, chopping through here, and use this volume structure here to grab some liquidity and move higher into September. That's my base case here, is that we are going to test this 10 EMA and drop a little bit lower into this region. But it's always an if this then that. We've got a very defined range. If we go down to the daily, the 50-day moving average is giving us a lot of, I guess you can say, signal here. So let's get rid of some of the noise we've got on the chart again. Now there's a few squiggles in here, and there's a bit of yellow on here too, which is a bit hard to see. But if you're looking at this yellow line tracing up through here, that is the 50-day moving average. We use this on a shorter time scale as a bit of a trampoline. So every time we come back, we bounce into it, we go higher. We're back there now, do we go higher? Again, I'm thinking because we're back here so quickly, and because we were rejected as well, all-time high, so grab some supply, now we're going lower. I think we're probably gonna come down and test the 100-day moving average because we haven't done that for a while, which puts this zone back into control. So that's what I'm looking at there, guys. So anywhere between this area through here, and if I go out to my other chart, which gives you an idea of the buy zones that I'm looking at. Very, very similar to what we had over in this region where we had that correction, bounced perfectly into our spot order zones. This next region though, still is in the back of my mind. If we lose that there, if this then that, we're going down into that lower 110 to 106, that type of region will really feel out the market. Okay, ETH has been super, super strong, but we don't want to get complacent around that because ETH is testing out that really significant region of all-time highs around that 5,000 mark. 5,000 is going to be this magnet that draws speculation, FOMO. People think it's going to rip right through at a certain point. But if we just bring our minds back to 100,000 for Bitcoin, remember how consequential that level was. If you remember, we tapped into it, chopped around, dropped much, much lower, then came back and finally retook it not long ago. So it's never always just, up only. We need to remember that these serious levels, when they get taken, generally we're above it and we don't come back. But while we're beneath these kind of levels, they act as a magnet and use you as exit liquidity to some degree. Now, as long as we're above 4,000, everything is honky-dory. But I think there is something to be said about this overhead resistance support below. I think we are going to chop in here for a bit and really feel out this lower liquidity. And I'm not sure if we go higher just yet. So I'm looking at this 10 EMA on the shorter term time frame on the daily here for Ethereum. We're beginning to breach that. So if we close beneath that tomorrow, I think the 4,000 region is absolutely on the table. And you can see here, full allocation above 405. So that was an older strategy there. We can delete that now. 10 EMA violation, 50% cut and take. But again, that's a very simple strategy you can use. We close beneath the 10 EMA on the daily. You can use that same strategy to maybe cut some risk if you're doing some shorter term dynamic movements. That's absolutely on the cards. And then reload as it goes into this region down here. But if I was thinking here logically, all right, where's it going to go? Well, I think this area through here is going to provide some significant support. And if I were to bring up the volume profiles, this volume block here, so 4,000 down to 3,600, I think is a really sensible area. We also have the 50-day moving average beginning to drift into that area. We've got the 20 at 4,000 exactly. So this looks like a really nice area to grab some liquidity before we move higher. Again, I think ETH is going to correct here, whether it be now or if we drive into 5,000, but it's going to come back down into this region. So I think being patient here is really sensible, especially as we head into potential rate cut in September. Again, I think it's consensus bullish, medium and longer term, but everyone thinks it's just going to be up only. And I think there's the level of uncertainty around why they're cutting, inflation coming back with PPI, and just generally everyone being bullish into something like a major catalyst like that. I think we have to be just careful that, you know, we don't get the floor pulled out from under us leading into it. And we also have September historically being a little bit of a ho-hum month. So leading into that, yeah, we can have a bit of downtime. Finally, not touching alts at all here. When Bitcoin is weak and when Ethereum looks like it's about to get weak as well, what do you think altcoins are going to do? They're going to outperform to the downside, and you do not want to be holding that. And unless you're a longer term investor and you've been positioning and you're setting up and all that, and you don't want to just touch it, that's fine. But if you are being dynamic and you're looking to maybe hedge some risk, these are some of the things you want to look for. And if I'm looking at, you know, all right, if we're positioned heavily in Bitcoin and Ethereum, or you might have a big Ethereum position that you made a lot of profit on, and you think, so, well, how can I manage some of this risk? Well, you look at the the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. So how strong is Ethereum versus Bitcoin? Now, the theory here is Bitcoin probably can move anywhere. Logically, it can go a lot lower, but I think there's probably a floor on Bitcoin to about 100,000, maybe 105. Ethereum is much more likely to go sub 4,000, maybe, you know, 36, fill that kind of region out. So that's a larger drop. So if you were looking to manage risk, you'd look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, and if you see a close, or you can maybe even have a stop loss beneath, say, the 10 EMA here, which sort of tells you the shorter term trend. You see when we breach that trend, we dip a lot lower. If we're doing something similar here, you can have a nice stop loss from your Ethereum back into Bitcoin. So if it loses that short-term moving average, you go into more security and the safety of Bitcoin, just sit in that, reload with some orders much lower for your Ethereum and go from there. Again, that's another strategy you can put forward there. And just broadly, guys, I think, yeah, we want to be just sensible here, not be too sensitive to the market reactions and market movements, because we are just still chopping in some regions which we've been chopping in for a long time. We've got no clear, decisive move outside of the fact that we've lost the shorter term range. So we're going to go exploring for more liquidity a little bit lower. We're going to see the reaction there, but as long as we're holding the 50-day moving average, and the backup there is the 10 EMA on the weekly, all of those two, you know, moving averages are holding, we could very well just be chopping into the back end of the month without any meaningful moves. Yes, there are some altcoins that are making some moves, but yeah, the big two are just looking weak and falling over. Stop playing chasey with some of these altcoins, because you're going to get wrecked. If you're a short-term trader, different story. You've got a whole different set of parameters and risk profiles around that, which you can manage. But longer-term investing, let's stop chasing. Let's be a little bit more patient. Market wants to do what it wants to do. Just play with the ball where it lies. So guys, have a wonderful day. Catch you again soon. Bye-bye.